Dav Zayin Amud Aleph will begin at Dav Vav Amud Beis, the last line on the Amud at the two dots. So the Gemara Meiser Nozer L'Nedava, the surplus money, the excess money that was set aside for a Nozer, for his Nazirus, goes to a Nedava, for Karban Tziva. Rav Chisda said, he qualifies this for who Shekar V'Chatosa B'Seif. That is only if the last korban that he was makriv was the chatas. The Nazir, at the conclusion of his Nazirus, brings three korbanos. He brings a chatas, an oila, and a shlomim. The chatas, excess money for a chatas, that goes for a nedava. But the excess money for a shlomim, that goes for a shlomim. It doesn't go for an nidus tzibur. Similarly by an oila. It's where it's a chatos, where this chatos doesn't come, ben a dovid, is not brought ben a dovid. So therefore, Chisda says, it's only if the last one that he was makar was the chatos, because then we would say this extra money could be attributed to the chatos. It's considered as moiser chatos, and has a din of moiser chatos, which is goes to an adova. But if the shlomim were makar the shlom b'sayv, moisran shlomim, the excess would be shlomim, would go for the specific korban, for a korban shlomim, and similarly in oil. So it's only tzedavke if the chatas you're makar b'sayv. But Omar Zer argues. Razer says, "Afilo karva shlomim b'sayf." He says, no, even if the last one that he's makriv and the funds that are set aside at the last are for shlomim, still it goes l'nedova, not for shlomim, because halacha achas ben nazir shtei meiser nedova. It's halacha b'naziris, that it's halacha achas ben nazir, that it is across the board, it's uniform, it doesn't make a difference. It's halacha l'maishem Sinai that the excess money of a nazir goes for an adova. We have a brisa that supports both Rav Chisda and Rabbi Zeira. We have a brisa that supports both. We have a brisa that supports Rav Zeira, that says it doesn't make a difference. The excess money goes to Nedova, because we learned Elohein Mois Stumin. These are considered to be Mois Stumin, and Mois Stumin, where we say the excess money, the surplus money, goes for a Nidvas Sibor, Kol Shidmei Chatas Murav Behem. If it has a taruvs, a mixture of the chatas money, meaning money was collected, and amongst that, from that money, there's also chatas money that was designated to be used for the korban chatas. And even if subsequently he removed the dmei chatas mitaycha, it doesn't make a difference. If it was all collected together and it had chatas money that was part of it, it's considered mostumin, and therefore the excess goes to a nedova. So even if now the money that you have is allocated for shlomim, and even if you're makar that for shlomim, this excess now is excess from a shlomim, it doesn't matter, because it's mois nazirus that was collected, which has the chatas as part of it, and it all goes l'nedova. So that's the rayim to Rav Zeira. Masnisa Messiah Rav Chisda. The following brayso is a right of Rav Chisda. It says, "Elu lechatos." If a person says this for machati v'shar l'shar nazirusai, and the rest of the money is for the rest of my nazirus. So he said, the way Rav Chaim learns this is as follows. He said, put a pile of coins together. It's all together. He said, this is for my nazirus. And then subsequently he removed some of this, and he said, this should be for my chatas. So initially he collected all the money for Nazirus, and then he segregated a portion that goes for the chatas. Umeis, and then he died, mo'alin bekulan. We say there's me'ilah, and it's considered me'ilah if he misappropriated, if he used for personal use, if he misused all of the money. It's only if he used all the money, but not if he only used part of the money. And therefore, you see over here clearly that we don't say that the excess money goes to Nedova. Now, why is that? It's because what is left over here in the funds after he separates the chatas is money for an oila and money for a shlomim. An oila is koche kochim, and therefore there is mi'ila. The Shlomim is Kochim Kalim. There's no Me'ila. There's only Me'ila after the Zrikas Adam. There's Me'ila on the Emurim. But at this stage, there's no Me'ila. Now, if all of the money would go to Nadova, Nidvet Sibur, there would all be oilers and there would be Me'ila. It doesn't matter if it's Miksasan or if it's all of them. None of them would be going for a Shlomim. But from the fact that it says, Ein moil b'miksosam, if only part of the money is misused, is misappropriated, there's no milah, that shows clearly that part of the money is to be used for a shlomim, and therefore, if only part of it is used, there's no milah because we attribute to the shlomim. So you see a riot to Rav Chisda. Rav Chisda says, Moisalach meshel nozer yurka. The nozer has to also bring, he has to bring the lechem, the baked breads for his nazirs. Now, if he has the surplus, the money set aside for Nazirus, and or that he had baked the lechem for Nazirus, and he died, so either he has surplus money, or he has the bread that can't be used, what do you do with this? Then it says, Yurkav, it's left to rot, to decompose, because there's nothing you can do with it. You can't use anything you can't use anything with the lechem or with the money. Rav Yosi, he says, he explains it, he says v'yois, and this is correct. Why is that? Because lahakriv b'fnei yatzmei einat yocham. You can't be marked on its own. She'ein l'cha lechem karv lasma, because the lechem of the naziris is only, you're only makriv, it's only brought together with the korbanos. If you don't have the korbanos, you can't bring the lechem. And lahakriv im naziros acheres, to use it for a different naziros, einat yochal. You can't do that either. Shein l'cha naziros bo b'loy lechem, because a naziros doesn't come without bread. So therefore, when a nazir, a different nazir, now he's mekabel himself in naziros, so he has to bring for his korbanos naziros, he has his own chiyuv of lechem. So you can't combine this lechem with another nazir's korbanos, with the lechem that he has to bring. Therefore, you have to say, the excess money from the naziris is left to decompose. Sovereign Meimar, the Talmud thought to say, hu lachma hu meiser nesochim. The same would apply to the leftover of the nesochim. The nesochim, the nazir's oila and shlomim, you have to bring nesochim. If there's mice of the surplus for the nesachim, they thought to say that it would be the same thing, that it's yurkav, it's left to decompose. But no, Amr Rabbi Yosi Rabbi Vuan, he says it's not the case. Mice nesachav kache kachemina. The mice nesachim, even on a korban, which is kachem kalim, even on a shlomim, which is kachem, but nesachim, which is poured on the mizbeach, is always kache kachem. So therefore, he says, since the Nesachim Koche Kochem, it has a din of Meiser Koche Kochem, V'yiplo Nadova, and it falls to Nadova, so you do have a use to it. It can be used for a Nadova. Now, if it's something that has to be used for the specific korban, well, it would not be applicable like we have by the lechem. But if it's something that falls to a nidvus tzibor, well, therefore, even if it cannot be used for a nazir, but it's used for nidvus tzibor, so therefore, it's not left to Yurkav, it's brought for the Nadava. Gemara says, Al daiti the Rav Yosi Barabon, according to what we just said, that these meiser, the extra of Koche Kochem, therefore also falls to Nadava, we have the following shitas which are all consistent with that. Therefore, we would hold that Rav Chisda and Shmuel, Rav Chisda and Rabbi Elazar, that the shitas of Shmuel and Rav Chisda and Rabbi Elazar, Shloishta and Amr Dover, the three of them all go with the same shita. So Rav Chisda had the Amr Rav Chisda, like we just said, that the mice of the Kachik Kachim is Lunadav. Shmuel, the Amr Rav Yosi, Shmuel, because he said, Amr Rav Yosi, Ad Ana Taman, when I was there in Bavel, Shema Tekol, Rabbi Yehuda Shol Shmuel, I heard the voice of Rabbi Yehuda that he asked Shmuel the following: if a person separated his machzor shek and the person died, what do you do with that money? Amar le, yiplo nadova, it falls to nadova. So it's the same thing, because the shkolim are to be used to buy kochim, and therefore the surplus goes lenadova. Rabbi Elazar also holds the same thing. The Itmar, Meiser, Asir Sefer Shaloi, the surplus money of the Asir Sefer of the Kohen Gadol. Rabbi Yochanan Omar, he says, Yoelichem liyom HaMelech. We say, we throw it into the Yom HaMelech. But Elazar Omer, Yipulun Dovid. He says, it's the same principle. It's a Meiser of Kodesh Kodshim, and therefore it's Yiplu Linadova. So now the next Mishnah is going to continue on with the din of surpluses. Meiser Shvuyim LeShvuyim. If money was collected for Pidyon Shvuyim to redeem the captives in general, then it's used, if it's not used for one, then it's used for other ones because it was not collected or designated for anyone in particular. But Meiser Shavei, Loiser Shavei. But if it was collected for a particular one, then it has to be used for that person. It can't be used for somebody else. And if they don't need it for the actual Pidyon Shvuyim, then they use it for his other needs, to buy food, etc. But it has to be used for this person because it was collected for this person. Meiser Aniyim La'aniyim. In a similar vein, money that was collected, a general collection for poor people without allocating specifically to any one particular, then it's lanim. It goes for the poor. If you don't need it for one, use it for another. But Meiser Ani, if it was collected for a particular person, Lois Ani, and it has to be given to that person. And even though there's a surplus, if there's a surplus, it still is given to him. Meiser HaMesim LaMesim. If the money was collected, general collection for the mason, for the burial of Mason, so then it goes LaMesim. It goes to the people in general. Meiser HaMeis, but if it was collected for a particular mace, then it's LiYarshav. Then, if there's excess, there's more than was needed for the standard burial. So we say that even though it was collected for this mace, but he would be nicha that a surplus should go to his yarshim, his heirs, rather than it to be used for more something excess for the covet of his burial. So we say it goes to the yarshim. Rabbi Meir, he says, no, Meiser HaMeis Munach Hachiyav Eliyahu. It should be Munach Hachiyav Eliyahu. It's a suffix. We don't really know what to do with it. We treat it as a suffix. Do we assume that he wants it for his yarshim, or does he want it for his own honor, for his own covet? So therefore, it's Yem Munach. Rabbi Nosson Omer, he says, Meiser HaMeis Bainala Nefshel Kivrei. He says that when you use it, you build a monument for him. So the Meiser HaMeis LiYarshav, the first shita is, the Tanakama says, it goes for the heirs. Rabbi Meir says it's a suffix. Rabbi Nosson says it's used for the Mes's covet. Dr. Gemara, so Gabi this din of when they collect something for the mes, if they collected money, what under the assumption that the person, the mes, does not have money to use for his burial, and it turns out that he had funds. Rabbi Yirmiyah Asavar Meimar, he thought to say that Meiser HaMeis LiYarshav, that we apply the din that we said in the Mishnah that Meiser HaMeis LiYarshav, it goes to the heirs. Amrle Reb Eidi the Chutra, he said, Haga Aswa, Reb Chida the Chutra said, Haga Aswa, that think about this. Trouble yourself to think about this. How could this be? They intended that the money should go to him. Now, so the din in the Mishnah is where it goes to him, and there's surplus money, there's extra money. Then there's the shaila. You can say then the Tanakama holds it goes to the heirs. That he was nicha that the excess should go to the heirs. But over here, you're saying they collected the money for him, and you're saying that nothing should be used for him. How could that be? How could you say that? Amr Lei, Rav Yirmiyah said to him, Anad lo yamris. I didn't say that definitely that should be the case. I said that perhaps that should be the case. Meaning, just like in the Mishnah we say, Meiser LiYarshav, perhaps even in this case, Atman Allah. How do you know that this is definitely not so? Meaning, it's not comparable, complete to the case of the Mishnah, so we can't say definitely that it should go to theirs, but perhaps it should. Tana B'Shem Rabbi Nosson, we learned in the name of Rabbi Nosson, Meiser HaMeis Yibon Olei Nefesh Al Kivrei, we learned that the excess money that should be used for to build a monument for the mace on the kever. And they should sprinkle wine on it. It was a custom that they had to sprinkle wine, that there should be a nice aroma, and it's a symbol of covet. Tanya will learn the Brisa. We don't redeem, we're not do pigeon shavim. When they collect it to one, we can't use it for a different one. And even if the other one maybe is more worthy and more choshev, we can't transfer from one to the other. Vein goyim talis betalis, and money collected to buy clothing for one per person, you can't transfer it, you cannot transfer it to another one. Vein memachin biyad parnosim lekach. However, nevertheless, if the parnosim, the ones in charge, the Gaboim, did do it that way, did transfer it, we don't make a machal, we don't protest. Tani, we learned the Brisa of Shem Gamliel Loimer, ein oisim nefashel tzadikim. Now, even though we learned that Rav Nosson said the extra, you make a monument for the mez, but for tzadikim, we don't make a monument. Divreim hein zichroinim. What is a monument to the tzadikim? What is something that will be to them? There's that they will remember that tzaddikim by, and that is their words, divrei, their divrei Torah, their words, the things that they said. So that's what they'll have for posterity. That's how we'll remember them. So we don't build a monument. Now we're knowing nowadays that we do build monuments for tzaddikim. The Chasav Sofer explains is that if the purpose of the monument is for the tzaddikim, that's when it's not necessary. Divreim is the biggest monument is their divrei Torah. But if the people will get chizuk by it, it will be machazik the oilam and cause the people to remember the tzaddikim and the devarim taivim, etc., then we do. And he said that's why when they had the monument for the Chassam Sofer, that's how he explained it, and he explained it in this manner. That we say that the nefashos for tzaddikim, if it has a benefit to the olam, and generally speaking, it does, then we would build it. Rabbi Yochanan was leaning as he walked. As we learned in the Gemara in Brachas, that Rabbi Yochanan, he needed support. It was difficult for him to walk, and he used to be supported by Talmidim. So he was walking, and he was being supported by Rabbi Chia bar Abba. Rabbi Eliezer saw him, and would hide from him to make it that so that Rabbi Yochanan wouldn't notice him. Rabbi Yochanan said, he said, the Bavloi, Rabbi Eliezer, there's two avlas that he does against me. One, that he doesn't give me shalom, he doesn't give me shalom aleichem. Mitmar, and he hides from me. Mitmar, he hides from me. So he's treating me disrespectfully. He said to him, he said that he explained it, that that's how they're noyeg, and that's how they're noyeg in Bavel. They're noyeg in Bavel that they don't approach the person a great person. So as a younger person has Meira from him, and he shows him the greatest covet by staying away from him, as to show that he's not worthy of greeting a great person. A young person does not go and ask shalom of someone who is an older person that he has mechabed. He shows fear from him. They are noig, and they're mekayim with themselves. They're mekayim themselves the following pasuk: Ra'uni na'arem v'nechbo. The young would see me and hi, v'yashishu kamo amadu. But the older ones, the ones who were older, they got up and they gave me cover. But he saw Rav Yaakov said that Rav Yochanan did not accept this. So Omar Lei, he said the following: what if a person, there's a door that's Salam, the Avodah Zarah, if a person has to walk on that path, can he walk on that path and walk in front of the idol? Is that showing respect and cover to the idol? So Amar Lei, Rav Yochanan said, Ma'at Polik Leikar. You're not giving him any cover by doing this. Avar Kamei V'Samei, walk in front of it and close your eyes. And so therefore you're not giving him covet. Amar Lei, so therefore, Yois Rabbi Eliezer Avid Lo Yavar Kamei. He said, therefore, he did properly, he acted properly, Rabbi Eliezer, with that he hid from you, that he didn't walk in from you, because since their minig is that the young people don't give shalom to the older person, well, he would have to walk by you and therefore, so to speak, ignore you and not give you shalom. That would be disrespectful. So since the minig is not to give shalom, it's even better, therefore, not even to walk by you and to hide from you, and therefore that's how he defended what Rabbi Eliezer did. More continues with the Maisa, which we'll see through the next Amud.